I'm convinced that hanging gutters in light rain is actually a really good thing. I never take candling too seriously. I probably should. What do you have?
I have a big rock.
It's a pretty big, huge rock. Can I have a piece? No, maybe not. Folks, welcome back to the homestead. It's spring. Can you feel it? Can you feel the change in energy, the shift in the vibe? It's apparent that things are getting warmer, that vegetation around the house and the homestead is aggressively growing. Garden is almost ready. We have chicks, which I'll talk about here in a second. Things are going great. I actually didn't post this past Wednesday because I just needed a maintenance day. One of my favorite things in the world is to just sit on my riding lawnmower and mow the homemaker, which we were due for because after last week, the grass just sprouted up around the house. So I just needed a day where I could just mow and weed whip, and I did it. I think it was Tuesday that I did that, and it was really good to do. There's a lot of things we need to talk about. The big project today actually involves the barn. But before we get into anything, let's talk about the chicks. There's kind of a little bit of a disappointment there, but also something very illuminating as well. So why don't we talk about the chicks that were born on Tuesday and Wednesday that hatched out? Look at this. I don't have the wrist brace on. This is probably the first day where I'm going without it. It's actually starting to feel better. I've been doing different massages and exercises on my wrist and my thumb that seem to have made some progress, made a dent in the pain that I've been experiencing. And I got a hot tip from one of our viewers, Hap. He told me about a magical over-the-counter non-prescription drug called Aleve. Sodium naproxen, I think, is the non-branded term. And that stuff has really made a difference. I've been able to move my hand. Look at that. I'm actually moving it and turning my thumb like that. This is the most flexible I've had my hand and my wrist in literally months. So thank you, Hap, for that tip. Also, a couple people gave some pointers on stretches and some massages I can do. It's gonna be working. I think, I don't want to jinx it, knock on wood, but I think we're making progress. Hopefully I won't need to wear that stupid brace and I'll actually be able to do stuff with my right hand again here soon. I'm gonna make an attempt today, actually, for a project we're working on. Anyways, let's talk about the chicks. Let me turn the light on here. So I'll cut right to the chase. Out of the 12 eggs that we got from this rooster and the 2 hens, let me turn on the light in there. Vince the rooster, he's our breast chicken, our French breast chicken, or American breast chicken, derived from an old French breed. And these 2 hens. And so over the course of 6 days, I collected 12 eggs because they each lay an egg a day in that egg box. Over the course of 6 days, I got 12 eggs and I put them in the incubator roughly 24 days ago. So let's talk about the results. Out of our 12 eggs, we had 6 hatch. 6 healthy eggs hatched. So half of them hatched. The other did not hatch. And I'll go into some reasons around why that is and what I think is potentially going on. Let's open you up. Hi guys. Hey everybody. There's our 6 little chicken nuggets. They're all doing good. They're nice and fluffy, moving around, drinking, eating. So while I was collecting the eggs from the two breast hens, I'll set you down. Let's get you some water. While I was collecting the eggs, I thought I'd do a little bit of a quasi experiment and mark one of the eggs each day with an X in chalk. I never mentioned this. It just seemed kind of insignificant to talk about. Just to represent the fact that one of the eggs was obviously coming from one hen and the other one was coming from the other hen. Just to see what their varying success rates would be. Sit you down. And that turned out to be a pretty good idea. So they'll lay the eggs in here. There's already one egg. It turned out to be a pretty good idea because of those 6 eggs that hatched, they all had the chalk X on them. So that tells me a couple of things. Basically what it tells me is that one of the hens is either infertile or Vince was only mating with one of the hens and avoiding the other one. I'm not sure which situation is going on. And honestly, I'm not even sure what I need to do about it because honestly, I don't know that I'll continue using these hens for breeding. I'll probably switch up the roosters and hens. I need to talk to Kathy from Two Turtles Homestead. Kathy and Katie Kramer. So both Kathy from Two Turtles Homestead and Katie Kramer from the Kramer Life are both experts at incubating chicks and breeding programs, things like that. So I'll probably be having a discussion with both of them about how I should continue forward with my breast chicken breeding program. But it was an interesting little data point that from one of the hens, we didn't get any fertile eggs. But from the other one, we got 6 healthy babies come out. Now, you might be asking, did I candle those eggs? Well, I did. It's funny. I never take candling too seriously. I probably should, because the way that I think about it is like, okay, these 12 eggs are in here. There's a few of those eggs are duds. It doesn't matter because I can't put brand new eggs in the incubator once I've already started the process. So I just have to eat those. I just have to write those off as duds and just wait for the rest of them to hatch. So I think if I had a more serious breeding program, that would be a different story. I'd probably need to dispose of the dud eggs. But I didn't do that this time. I only candled the eggs once, I think on day 7, which is when you can initially candle them. And I candled 3 of them. I wasn't paying attention to the X. The 3 that I candled were all the ones with the chalk X on them. And they seemed to be progressing just fine, so I left them alone after that. So yes, we've got 6 healthy chicks that I'm going to grow out and probably use for breeding in the future. And in the meantime, these 2 hens, I'll probably eat these guys when we process our next round of chickens. In the meantime, what's my plan for incubation? Well, I'm going to throw a bunch more eggs in the incubator. This time I'm going to throw layers in. We've got so many layers and they're all over the place, and we typically get a dozen eggs a day anyway. So why not just throw a dozen layer eggs in the incubator? I think that's what I'm going to do. And then after that, I'll probably incubate some turkey eggs because these turkeys are laying every day. Each turkey hen is laying every day, it seems like, which is really good production. And Lenny has been mating with them prolifically, so I know those are fertile eggs. So probably layer eggs next, and then turkey eggs after that. So I'm just going to keep the ball rolling in terms of hatching out chickens. One of the other fun maintenance tasks that I took on this past week was just moving mulch. I hauled so much mulch. I mulched the area where we're going to have our flower and herb garden over here. This is in addition to the what is this stuff called? Speed Run or Speed Well? I don't know the name of this ground cover, but Holly does. Our lemon balm, which smells great. It's a little touched by frost, but it's still such a good plant. There's sage. There's, I think, thyme somewhere in here. But we're going to add a bunch more herbs and some flowers over here. I also filled up tomato beds with mulch and covered those up. This is our experimental greens bed right here, which we'll keep growing those out. Those have done pretty well despite all the frost that we've had. And around the house. So we had a mulch bed around the house when we moved in, and it had been freshly mulched, and it was good. It was like black mulch. I don't know if it was real or artificial, but it looked decent enough. But that stuff quickly kind of eroded and broke down and just got replaced by weeds. And so, we've been here, 5 years now? So initially it looked really good, but as you can see, it's just been attacked by weeds. It's ugly and it's not really doing anything for us. So I decided to scrape away all these weeds with a hoe, and it actually turned out to be a great tool. And just use the mulch that we've had, our free mulch, and fill it in here. So it's going to be a slow process every day. I'm going to try and get a little bit further down the line and work our way around the house till this stuff is filled up with the free mulch that we've got. I think it looks pretty good actually for free mulch. I mean, it's not treated mulch, it's not a colored mulch, it's just free pine mulch that we got. I think it looks pretty good. The big project I want to get done today, if the weather will let me, but it's irrelevant, is hang gutters up here on this side of the north lean-to, where eventually we plan on having pigs. Now, when we had pigs previously, a few years back, Frank and Beans, they were moving all around the homestead. We used a hot fence and just moved them through the woods. This time, we'd like to get maybe a little bit smaller pigs and have a stationary pen that uses a deep bedding system. I've seen it work when we went to Polyface Farms, and I actually got to hang out with Joel Salatin. I saw an actual deep bedding system, like a pork palace that he had built, where there's just a ton of straw and hay and the pigs just live there. I'd like to attempt something similar here, where it's just a stationary pen that uses deep bedding. Now, one of the important things that you need with the deep bedding system is to have it be dry, because once you introduce a lot of moisture, that's just a ripe breeding ground for flies and for stink and for uncleanliness. Pigs do need wetness, but they need a dedicated wet spot, like a pool that they can use for wallowing in. But for the majority of the pen itself, especially where they sleep and where they use the bathroom, that needs to be dry, and there needs to be some sort of substrate, whether it's hay or milled rice shells or mulch or straw. It needs to be something that's continuously added up on and refreshed. So that's what I'm thinking for this area, is that I will stretch it out. I'll probably use pig panels and T-posts and stretch it out maybe down there to the edge of the woods, maybe a little further. I might cut some of that back with Captain Crunch and just have this be a dedicated pig pen. And this area right here would be dry. I'd limit their wallowing and all that stuff to out there, but this would need to be dry. Now, one of the issues with that is we don't have a gutter up here, and every time it rains, you can see this moisture line where water pulls up, gets gross, it gets wet. This area right here is always a concern because it pulls up. There's literally a pool here, and that's what caused the damage to the barn itself and started rotting it away, and why I needed to replace the studs in that stall was because of just the constant moisture here. So on the other side of this lean-to, I installed a gutter system that I actually hooked up to this water tote, which I use for water for the garden and for the chickens. This gutter system works great. It's one piece of gutter that runs along the western side of the lean-to, and it's a good system, and it keeps the moisture out from under here. This used to be soggy and wet and constantly puddled up. I plan to do the same thing on this side of the lean-to. And where I'll run the water once it exits over there, I still haven't decided just yet, but maybe I can use that to actually filter it into a stock tank and the pigs can drink from that. But the point that I'm trying to get to is I want this area where I'm standing and the lean-to be as dry as possible. That's pivotal to a deep bedding system for a stationary pig pen. Okay, the mounting strip, furring strip, whatever you want to call this, popped up with some extra lumber that I had. Glad I held on to it. So I'll be able to mount the gutter to this strip, hopefully easily. So I found these two pieces of gutter in my hayloft, which I'll need to connect them, join them. These used to be in Mom and Dad's house until they got new gutters. And so I held on to these gutters, and I'm glad I did, because it turns out that these two gutters joined up is the exact length of my lean-to. Serendipitous. Now I get to put the thing up. I think I can do this. It's actually just now starting to rain, which is a little bit of irony there. Putting up gutters in the rain. Let's see if I can make this happen. Now this is where things get interesting, is where they join. Now luckily there's a little bolt that I can pull off and put in right there where it'll meet up in that joiner. Let's see how well it works. But I'm pretty happy with the angle of this. It starts up higher, starts to drift lower. I just gotta keep that gap in mind as I'm going down the line. Okay, so we got the gutter up. As I suspected, there's dripping from where they joined, but that's because there's no cement in there yet. Obviously, I can't put the gutter cement in while it's raining, but this is a good test because now that it's raining, I can get a sense of where I'm wrong and where things are pulling up. But basically, this is working. The water is heading this way. The one issue, and I'll show you guys, the one issue is that, as you can see, the downspout thing rises up about 1/2 inch from the bottom. I'm not sure if you can see that, but this rises up about 1/2 inch. So once there's enough volume, the water will definitely go down here. But right now there's not enough volume. But the water is coming down. And so I'm a little short, which I'll need to think of something. But to my earlier discussion, I want this area down here to be where water is collected. So I'll need to get creative. I might just need to get a longer piece. Maybe get it, because it joins right there. Maybe what I'll do is take this off and cut a piece to size that goes out to there and get a new downspout that doesn't rise up. So I think that's my next step, is to just get a longer piece of gutter and have a better downspout. But all in all, right now, I'm happy because you see that puddle? That would have been happening all throughout here where this trench is. And there's some drippage from up there, but this was pouring down and turning that into a big pool. So, gutter up there one day, maybe. I'll do it one gutter at a time, but this is instructive for me. I'm convinced that hanging gutters in light rain is actually a really good thing because you can actively see how the gutter will operate. On my checklist, get that join cemented. Because where those two join, it's just leaking, which is what I expected. Get another piece that elongates this, I don't know, 1.5 feet, whatever that is. And a downspout that doesn't stick out of the bottom of the gutter. And finally, obviously, before we get pigs, I need to put a gutter up on this section. Now, I don't have to do it all the way across. I can just do it so that it goes over to the roof here. So I could even have a downspout right up there. As long as it goes to the roof, the water will come down and go into this gutter. So I've got a few more steps on this gutter system, but this is a good start and I'm happy with it. Well, the journey continues. The beat goes on. There's lots of stuff to do. The gutter project won't take long. That should probably be the focus of my next Work With Me Wednesday video. Probably be pretty quick to get all of those items on my checklist knocked out. But then we got to shift to the garden. That's going to be our next big thing. But what about the attic? You may be asking. So actually today, Holly and Henry and I are going to go to a couple of different stores around town and look at different paneling options, whether that's tongue and groove, or lately she's Holly's really been into the idea of bead board. So we're going to look at a bunch of different options for up there and hopefully make the decision within the next few days so I can start knocking the office out. More chickens, more incubation, gutter work for the pig stall out back, attic, garden, plenty to keep me busy. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. And until we see you again next time, remember, as always, slowly, slowly.